emotionally, and psychosocially. Hanneke is the creator of Buzz's unique interactive curriculum, the Buzz teaching method, teacher training courses, the Buzz television show for children, Buzz music, and Buzz podcasts for kids. Hanneke also founded the Buzz Foundation, NPO, in 2018, which offers the same services as Buzz to less fortunate communities across South Africa. She also oversees and has personally custom developed all operational systems for this unique organization. I'd like to welcome to the session today, Hanneke. Welcome.
I really appreciate that, Olive. Thank you so much. And I'm going to jump straight in. You guys can see the screen. If you can just confirm with me, Olive.
Yes, we are ready to go and we can see your screen and your audio is perfect.
Perfect. Okay. So hi everyone, and thank you so much for allowing me this opportunity to be part of this wonderful conversation this weekend. I've listened to so many of the talks, and it's just been so encouraging to hear so many of us together in this fight to help bring the arts into education, square, front and center. So a lot of what I'm going to be speaking about today, I think I believe that many of us are in agreement about that the world that we currently live in has some crises that we need to face, and that art may be part of the solution. So I'd like to invite you all to see yourselves as warriors and soldiers in the fight for making our world a better place. I really believe that in ancient cultures, art used to be far more revered than it is today, and I believe that it's going to make a beautiful comeback. I'm going to quickly take you through the next 29 minutes with me. We're going to start with just looking at what the research says about our beautiful crafts that we share, the problem statement that I'd like us to think about together, which is really that our world needs new solutions for problems, and then the radical reform that's needed in education being part of the solution that I see, and then just looking at the how and some examples of how that can be done in classrooms by every single person. You don't have to be an artist. We are all artists. You don't have to be a trained artist to necessarily be able to do this. And I'd like to just keep it moving as quickly as possible for time, but I think just to establish some of the problems that we all know that we're facing in the world today, there are so many global issues that we need to look at, and that our children will inherit from us. Problems that they are going to need to live with, to survive and thrive in. There are huge issues from environmental and climate change. And yes, I am speaking at a creative arts forum about things like climate change, how pandemics, modern warfare coming at us drastically will affect the way we live, how we interact, how we learn, how we earn, our sense of safety, modern warfare, how that affects the ability of people to have access to food supply, and how that changes work and global trade and industry. These are the problems that we need to be thinking about collectively as a human society, and us as artists, I think, can be part of that solution. And it starts with how we obviously start with our little ones. We know other problems that is not new to anyone here: skyrocketing cost of living, as well as poverty on the rise, especially in South African context. But this is internationally. We now know that this generation we live in today as adults is the first one in modern history that will be less wealthy than their parents. That historically, we have always, generation by generation, been able to be more comfortable than the generation before, except in our case. And what does that mean for children, especially in a South African context where it's that much worse, or in African context? Then we also know that the robots are coming for us. I personally, I really believe in embracing AI and using it to our advantage and in our service. But we know that some of the statistics coming out, and I know that many of you will be aware of this, that up to 65% of jobs of our current grade ones going into schooling, the World Economic Forum has come out to say 65 to 70% of those jobs will not be available when our current grade ones leave school. So not to scare anyone, there will potentially be new jobs, but is schooling preparing our children for this future in which they will find themselves? Education is archaic internationally. the current education system that most of the Western world uses is about 130 years old. It's outdated and was built for, as we know, the industrial era. I'd like to just share a quote by Linda Darling-Hammond that says, one of the things we know from cognitive science research is that inert knowledge, that is the thing when you memorize information and never use it again, does not stick. About 90% of inert knowledge doesn't stick. And there's a study I'd like to speak about here. Lawrenceville School, there was a class of students who were asked to take a science exam only 3 months after they had written it the first time. They were just asked to come back and do the very same exam again. On average, the class had scored a B+, and when they were asked to take that very same exam again, the average had dropped to an F, which shows that there is in fact no retention of material just because what mattered to them in the first place was the letter on the report card and not to understand. And I guess you know where I'm going with this, that the arts are going to help us do this. Let's just have a little look at the history of education quickly together.
The last significant change in the way we educated our kids occurred around 124 years ago. It was the dawn of the Industrial Revolution. Most kids were raised on farms, and jobs were plentiful and predictable. Then, in 1843, an educator from Massachusetts decides to visit Prussia on his honeymoon, where he witnesses a brand new type of education. Up until that time, education primarily consisted of smart people sitting around talking to other smart people. But after the Prussians were embarrassed in the Napoleonic Wars in the 1800s, this Prussian decides to institute a new type of education for every German boy from 7 to 14 years old, which results in a more fit, more organized, more obedient army. Among his many reforms was this idea: to divide up instruction according to age, ability, and subject matter. Strange as it seems today, this had never been done before. This idea of teaching math in one room, science in another room, language skills in yet another was totally new. Horace Mann witnesses this new educational model and he's stunned. Inspired by what he sees, he brings these educational ideas back to the US, where it captures the attention of these men. Just like the Prussians, who were anxious to develop more obedient troops, these fathers of the Industrial Revolution were desperate to transform our nation of disorganized farm laborers into trained, efficient workers for their factory and assembly line jobs.
We divide the day up in high schools into bits of time, into 40 or 50-minute blocks typically, and then we ring bells and people start to shuffle around the building and do something else. That's an organizational device. It's not an educational principle. And it is, in broad sweeps, a system that resembles a factory culture.
If you built a factory in upstate New York and another along the Ohio River, you desperately needed these workers to behave similarly, to know the same kinds of things. If high school graduates in Ohio could quote Shakespeare, but students in New York couldn't even write their own name, it was difficult to build a standard set of factories which utilized both sets of workers. That's when it was decided to form a committee called the Committee of 10. The committee was tasked with coming up with a standard set of subjects every kid should know. Back in 1892, the Committee of 10 designed our nation's curriculum, and for the most part, it has not changed.
The economy that we created over the course of the 20th century was an economy that needed a large number of moderately skilled people who could do the 3 R's and who could follow pretty simple instructions. As we head deeper into the 21st century, I really don't think that's the case anymore, yet our educational system still seems to be focused on turning out people with that same relatively small set of skills. My fear is that they're heading into a society and an economy and a workforce that doesn't value those skills very much anymore. And I think we need to take a good hard look and figure out what kinds of people, what kinds of skills are demanded in the technologically extraordinary society and economy that we're creating.
So this is from a full documentary by Ted Dintersmith and Greg Whiteley. It's called Most Likely to Succeed, and it was made in 2015, almost 10 years ago. I really would urge everyone to have a look at it, and I've put some links in our booth and so forth to this documentary. And it's just worth thinking about the industrial age versus the innovation era that we're in today. I know this is quite American focused, the video that you just saw there, but our education system in the West, it all replicates one another quite a lot. And if we look at someone here like John Dewey, who said that if we teach today like we taught yesterday, we rob our children of tomorrow. And sadly, this was a man who passed away in the mid-20th century, and we're on our way to the mid-21st century. And I think we rapidly need to be looking at making some radical transformative changes to education, believing that the arts sit at the heart of those changes. Let's look at another quick video. This is also from Ted Dintersmith, The Future of Work. Will our children be ready? Will our children be ready? That's actually a chilling question. And I really think some of the solution lies with us here as artists in the education space. And this is a quote from the ex-senior vice president of Google, who says, 10 years ago, who mentioned, any job that does not require critical thinking, advanced communication skills, some form of human creativity, those jobs are all going to be gone, and they're going to be gone sooner than we think. And so if I can then get to the problem statement I'd like for us to sort of consider here together is if the future for our children will look so radically different not only in the problems we need to face, but the type of jobs we'll need to imagine, then what are we doing in education, and how is education radically and quickly and dramatically transforming itself to aid our children with the skills, to make sure that we're upskilling our children with the skills that they're going to need to not only survive and thrive in this future. This is a real responsibility that I believe that we have to best prepare our children for the future. So I think a lot of us will agree that the education system needs radical transformation. If we look at, that we still, the vast majority of how it works is still organized and arranged around that industrial age type of model. We look at lots and lots of global studies and research that confirms that children actually actively become less creatively genius, and we're talking about creative genius, the ability to come up with a creatively genius idea. This was tested in 1968 with George Land. It's a brilliant study to have a look at, which I quote here in my slide, that is 1,600 children between 4 and 5 were tested, and 98% of them scored creatively genius. And on a longitudinal study, we know that by adulthood, those same children, after they've come through schooling, only 2% of them retain that ability to come up with these genius, innovative, creative solutions for this future that we need to face. So it's super important that we, first of all, understand all children, it comes with their factory settings, that they have this ability. And the way we prepare them for the future, which is the role of education, should safeguard and stimulate, in my opinion, this natural ability that they have to be creatively, to come up with creative and genius ideas and to solve problems. So research concludes that children, for the future skills that we often speak of as 21st century skills, they are arranged and mention things like, and things that we're in agreement that will be most important, skills like being able to be creative, innovative, imaginative, to solve a problem, to think out the box, to have confidence. There's more that's not even mentioned here, communication skills, etc. And there's a beautiful study by the University of Nebraska that actually takes each one of these and further distills them down to say, what is creative and critical thinking, for instance? And I've got notes here like the ability to argue, classify, compare, define, describe, evaluate. When we look at something like creative thinking, what's underneath that? Brainstorming, creating, designing, entertaining, imagining, improvising, innovating, and so it goes. When we get to communicating, we're looking at things like analyzing, choosing, evaluating, following, listening, reading, etc. So that is what research is starting to tell us. This is the signal. This is what children need to have. These are the skills that the future, and you see this in terms of the innovators in the world of business. That's the type of people that they try to employ. And also we know, and I know this has come up tons in this conference, that research also tells us how children best learn. So I'd like to say that the first point I'm trying to make is what the skills are, as opposed to knowledge retention, which is what old style in industrial age education was about, retaining and regurgitating knowledge. Now we're in agreement that for the future, children need these 21st century skills. So that's the first point. The second point, in agreement with what so many of the other speakers have mentioned, is that children best learn, and we've got lots and lots of research to say that children learn best when the entire body is involved, as well as when they learn through play. And I want to say play here is not just the idea of ECD and primary school children. Play at a higher age is when we're starting to think about things like project-based learning and any kind of improv, and just being immersed and solving the problem from the inside. This is for all ages, including adults, the best way to acquire any kind of knowledge. So I like what Tony Wagner says. He's also featured in that little documentary, which I showed you a tiny snippet of, Most Likely to Succeed. Play is very close to the adult concept of innovation. Innovation is all about trial and error. It's iterative, and play is the same. We discover things through play, we make meaning through play, and we make joy through play. So the solution that I'm putting forward for all of this is that what we do, and it's so sad that in a way we needed a bigger audience than an audience of arts teachers and arts practitioners and people who already believe in the power of the arts. But that the art is this incredible toolkit. The world of industry, innovation, technology, the world out there of big corporates, they're begging for, we need creative, genius people. My argument is the arts is the solution, because artists and arts, and especially performing creative, expressive arts, can provide a lovely toolkit with which teachers and parents and anyone can access embodied experiences, playful experiences. So these are tools that actually are going to become, I believe, so much more important, so much more sought after in the near future. So for me, the solution is about intentionally applying the arts to safeguard and stimulate children's natural creative genius. And this then naturally will improve their outcomes in all learning and their chances of overall success in life. If we take a step back, all of us are in agreement that arts are phenomenal for society. They help us facilitate social commentary and critique and improve our tolerance and empathy, community building, empowerment, and building resilience. But if you also just look at arts very sort of plainly in what they do for children, there's lots of studies that show that children who engage with the arts, just an arts class, never mind using the arts for education, which is really where I believe there's lots and lots of opportunity and something that we can share. Children that are exposed to the arts, they do better academically, they have much better futures. There's a professor from UCLA, James Casherall, who coordinated some research over the course of 2 years, 62 studies, 100 researchers in the early 2000s, and they found that children who are exposed to drama, music, and dance will do a better job at mastering reading, writing, and mathematics than those who focus solely on academics. This is what all this body of research proved. And also that the study suggests that arts education is especially helpful to poorer students and those in need of remedial instruction. So I love this quote, that the notion that arts are frivolous add-ons to a serious curriculum couldn't be further from the truth. And so if we then go to what an average, everyday teacher who may or may not have an affinity for creative arts, what can they do? And I'm talking about the bog standard, everyday public school, government school teacher who may feel very overwhelmed by the idea of accessing the arts to help the child learn, not the beautiful those schools who have an arts department where there's drama, where there's dance. That's also important. But what can we do to just give everyday arts tools to help transform everyday teaching topics? The idea here is that just 4 I want to quickly explore is improv, character play, song, and movement. So what improvisation can give us is a core ingredient of project-based learning, which means that it's a self-directed learning that improves confidence and trust in the self. They have an opportunity, children, to apply their knowledge to a given problem, which help them reflect on the world in a different way, to take the relevance of a theoretical idea and place it in a real-world context. It improves multiple intelligences and physicalizes learning. So spatial, kinesthetic, interpersonal learners who don't learn well from the neck up will benefit. So acting out a scene and a solution, whether it's abstract or realistic, taking theoretical problems and scenarios and actually just playing it out in the class is something that I think, and I will show an example of this, which I think is really accessible for anyone. I'm just going to give you a little quote here because I love quotes. You don't actually need to know anything in this innovation age we're living in. Google can tell us everything at any second. You can find out at the point when you need to know something. It's the teacher's job now to point young minds towards the right question. A teacher doesn't need to give any answers because the answers are everywhere. So the next tool we're going to just quickly talk about is character or role play, which is close to improvisation, but this is about taking on a character, assuming the worldview of a different character, which helps with perspective. Learners can be who take on the role of another person, can practice that empathy, which helps them with perspective, self-reflection, and awareness. It helps with understanding of social relationship and complex issues, politically, culturally, and otherwise, and it helps with concentration and comprehension. So again, role play, it's something that's innate in all of us, and it's something that I just want teachers to like lean into, to take on character, realistic or abstract, become objects. Song is, I mean, my next 2 points on song and movement, it just really speaks to the power of music. What we know about music, and I love what Anne Bamford mentioned before about, and I know Ken Robinson speaks about this, that classical music instruction and visual arts has always been given preference in the hierarchy of the arts as well. But song and movement is something that we shouldn't be afraid of. It's something that we can really distill down and use and make our own in classrooms, because music actually helps to engage and to motivate, and engagement is critical for learning. Music helps to improve mathematical proficiency, that helps with reading, overall cognitive development, and music and memory have have really powerful links. And although we don't want children just to memorize, to regurgitate, it really does help. The repetition of songs is really important in learning. I'll make sure that this is available to you. Content-based learning songs have also been shown to help students structure information into a specific calculated pattern. And so there's a lot of educational music that's really, really powerful. In my organization, we created ourselves. We actually take learning topics from the education department for life skills, and we just make songs because you can see the difference in what it has in the lives of children. And movement, again, the same benefits of music, but then on top of that, the expressive movement helps with creative thinking, originality, flexibility, improving creative skills like self-confidence, persistence. So I'd like to give an example of how we do it in our organization. This is a video I'd like to share with you. That's a training video that we actually share with some schools that we work in to help the teacher take a simple grade R topic like my body and put it on the floor and physicalize it and make a game out of it. There's also a song that's associated with it. So I'd just like to show you how really simple this can be. One example, and then we'll take it from there. This is one of thousands of our training videos that we use with adults to show them how they can just bring learning out from behind the desk and onto the floor. My body. If they're older, then of course that gets easier. But this is something that also helps them to work with someone else, work with someone new. Don't just stay with your pals. Okay, now that's sounding back to back beautiful. Everyone say, I'm on fire. I'm on fire. So that's back to back. But what if I asked you to stand tummy to tummy? Who's the quickest? Oh my goodness, they were like lightning flashes. Musi and Chandra over there. Well done, that is tummy to tummy. Excellent. But what if I asked you to stand finger to finger? What would you do? Finger to, oh, look at Sabristo and Bongi over here. And what if I asked you to stand elbow to elbow? What would you do? That's it. That's your elbow. Exactly. And how about knee to knee? What about back to back? What about toe to toe? Excellent, excellent, excellent. Now you will find you have to do this really slowly the first few times and have a very infused, big, loud voice as the adult. And then back to back again, back to back for me. Now this time, guys, if I say a special secret code word, everyone say, what is it?
What is it?
You hear me say, body to body. You have to give your friend that you are with a high five and find a new friend. Now what I would do is, if the children are little and new to grade naught, I'd leave the high five bit out until later and just do the swapping of the friends. But seeing as these guys are bigger children, we will try that when I say body to body, you're going to give your friend a high five and find a new friend to stand back to back with. But only when you hear me say body to body, go! 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now when you're ready with this setup that you do loudly and in silence, then you could go over to your music player and put a little bit of music on, and then you can try and play it a little bit like this. So let me see you go in something nice and upbeat. We could play, and let me see you go tummy to tummy. Brilliant. And bum to bum. Everyone say and let me see you go head to head, very carefully with heads to heads. Head to head. No kissing. And if you do want to make that joke, just make sure it's really silly. And body to body. Find a new body. Find a new person. Well done. Who's the quickest? Who's the quickest? Who's the quickest? Excellent. And let me see you go knees to knees. And shoulder to shoulder. Now I'm going to make it a little bit harder. And when you make it harder, you go slower again. Let me see you back to back. And this time, make it really tricky. How about elbow to tummy? Oh, look at Vivian. She did it immediately. Excellent. And remember, if you praise one child, the other children also want to get praised. So praise is something everyone wants to work for. Reprimand is something everyone wants to avoid. So use a lot of praise. Back to back. And how about finger to knee? Who's the quickest? Look at Musi. He was lightning fast. Amazing. Back to back again. And body to body.
Head to neck to shoulders and arms, chest to tummy to hips and legs, a face with eyes, ears and a nose, 2 hands with fingers, feet with toes. My body is strong and it's just for me. Learning all about it like 1, 2, 3. My body is strong and it's just for me. Learning all about it like 1, 2, 3. I have 2 hands that
I'm so sorry to cut that off because I love listening to that tune and I love watching our videos. I can't believe I've run out of time. I don't know how that happened. Please remember that our examples are very specific to grade naught, and it's very easy to extrapolate that idea of using repetitive music and a simple embodied game. We have tons more we'd love to share with you, literally thousands of simple ideas of how to bring a simple learning topic out from behind the desk onto the floor using movement, song, improvisation, character play, and other things, just to help all those other children who don't learn in the traditional ways, and then also really to ignite different parts of the brain and to safeguard that all important creative genius ability that sits in every single child. We want to have beautiful performing arts, creative arts departments in schools, but we also want to bring that right into every single learning experience. Learning shouldn't be quiet and it shouldn't be from the neck up. It should be embodied, and we need to do it as soon as possible. I'm going to stop talking now, hand back over to Olive, and listen to whatever wonderful thoughts and ideas you have to share and questions. Thank you so much.
You were just, am I good?
Hi.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Olive.
I think we can keep her on. We'll keep on video for. I'll just speak. You may were getting me to dance and move, and I was snapping my fingers and tapping my toes here. Where can we find more of your videos so that teachers have access to some of your resources that you have provided in the presentation today?
I have so much, and we're like gagging to share it. I want to find out more about OpenAI and just making it available to the world. 12 years of putting this together and iterating it has helped us really make sure that it's based on good child development theory. We call Kidz, and we're on buzzkids.org, and we have an online platform. So it means that any teacher anywhere in the world can get access to these basic learning topics and the drama-based, creative arts-based games and music that we've made for it. And we're continuing to develop more, plus a full creative arts curriculum that also exists. We're Buzz Kids with a Z, so you can find us anywhere. We're also on Instagram and so forth. But yeah, there's quite a few products we have to fit solutions for school extramurals, working in the school day. But I think what we've realized in the last couple of years is that we can't multiply ourselves quick enough. We've got to use tech. And got to make sure that any teacher anywhere can get access to this. Even if we feel as artists, and I don't know if anyone else agrees, that sometimes you feel a bit precious and you're like, well, the way we can deliver it is the best because I've got a theatre degree or whatever. But actually the basics of the ability to use what I like to call the innate arts, those of us that are able-bodied, and of course, this also works really well with children with working with children with disabilities as well. But what I'm saying is the ability to use the simple innate arts, the ability to play, to make music, and to move is something that if we're lucky enough to do so, it's natural in us, and we don't need a degree to be able to access that and to use it with children.
Yes. Thank you so much, Hanneke. When are you having your next workshop? Do you guys have like a Saturday morning or a Saturday afternoon where teachers can just come on board, just connect with you, be with you like live in a room, not an online thing? When are you running the next workshop? When is that happening?
So we don't have anything scheduled because we usually do it per school with a school, right? So we've never done them independently. We would come to Rustenburg Girls or wherever people want us to, and we do a 2-hour dynamic workshop with foundation phase teachers or ECD teachers or intermediate, depending on who you are, to help you find some simple tools and tricks that you can immediately apply. So we would book that with each school or group, organization, or a district separately. We call that the Bring Learning Alive teacher training course. It takes 2 hours and it is revolutionary. We also now have a franchise network across South Africa because, again, it's about scale and reaching more people. So our independent workshops, we do have some in Cape Town, but there's too many for me to mention now. We would have to come onto our website, buzzkids.org, and find it all, find where we buzz.
Thanks, Hanneke. Last question for today from the Q&A bits here. How do we change the system if our leaders are not changing the system?
I don't know. We need to dethrone them somehow. I'm not sure. We need to honor, I was loving how Professor Bamford also spoke about, what was it, the international decree that says it's the right of every child, right, to have access to the arts. And I think that we need to bring it onto the agenda. In our country, our creative industry is responsible for a lot of worth in our industry. You know, like we actually outperform many other industries. We are a dynamic country with so much talent. South African creativity is like no other. African creativity is like no other. And we need our leaders to prioritize it more. We need our education departments and people in spaces like that to hear us out, to give more budget to it. But that is a huge, it is a huge question. And that's also why after 12 years of doing Buzz Kids and another 10 years of working in arts and education space, I don't see a simple solution other than demystifying it as much as possible, simplifying it as much as possible so that you can give tools to every teacher, every parent, everywhere, so that you can safeguard the creativity that's natural in the child. I think that's really, really important, that we stop being afraid of just bringing the arts in, being unsuccessful at it even, like being able to be silly with the class. That was also many things that some of our previous panelists and speakers have spoken about, just trying and starting from the inside out. We don't have the time or the luxury to wait for the ship to change slowly. We've got to make the changes every single day in every single class to make sure that our children are ready with the right skills to meet this future. We can't, like, if they're going to have A's in old-fashioned schooling, it's not going to prepare them for the jobs they might need in the future.
Hanneke, thank you so much for your time and the effort that you brought to the session today. You are valued. We appreciate you. It has gotten me up and jamming and buzzing on my feet. And so just to the attendees, as you just go to the main stage now and just log on for your last few minutes, I just want to take this moment again to thank Hanneke for this time that you have shared with us. I'm going to log onto your Buzz team and connect with you because I think it is much needed in the space where learners can move while they are learning the curriculum. And so that embeds then true learning within the classroom. So thank you so much, Hanneke. Thank you to the attendees. Much appreciation. Thank you so much. All the best.
May I just say thank you for everyone's comments as well. I'm looking at them and I appreciate them. Thank you so much for engaging. Thank you. Thank you.